To the Latinos that voted for him, you will never, and I repeat, never be white.
Omar Abreu Garcia, the father of an American citizen and the husband of an American citizen, was arrested without cause, sent to a terrorist prison, flown back to the United States on judge's orders, reunited with his family, and then detained again.
You will never be accepted as one of them, and you certainly are not exempt from the racism that is this racist-ass regime.
We haven't had the Latinos, Latinas, in any of this situation yet, until now.
To the Latinos that voted for him, you will never, and I repeat, never be white. You will never be accepted as one of them, and you certainly are not exempt from the racism that is this racist-ass regime. When that lady put in her post, alligators' lives matter, and she mentioned a number, that number being 65 million. Do you know how many Latinos are in the United States? Approximately 65 million, according to the U.S. Census Bureau. Approximately 60 plus million people. So guess what? They weren't just talking about the illegal immigrants, because data actually says that there are 10 to about 12 illegal, undocumented folks in the United States. They're talking about you. They're talking about people like us, because we are not exempt from the racism that is rooted in what these people believe in, and frankly, the foundation of this country that was built on the stealing of land from indigenous people by immigrants that came here from Europe. So when you think that you are better than an immigrant because your family came here the right way, remember that this land was actually stolen from day one. So when you think that you are better because you're second generation or third generation because you've been an American for a longer amount of time, I hope that you never have to experience a time where you have to flee a country for your own safety or that of your family. So when you think that you are somehow not going to be affected by any of this, when you think that you don't have to care, what happens if you are next? What happens if it's someone that you personally know? And I know already, because we've seen it. We've seen the clips of people that supported him, diehard supporters that are now crying on the news because their family members are getting deported and they thought that they would never be impacted. You see, in this country, so many people lack empathy. They are unwilling or somehow unable to think beyond themselves, and then we run into these situations. Wake up. The proximity to whiteness isn't serving you, and it's not serving the community. You have to recognize what is happening, because ultimately, they're not just going after criminals. And all of this is connected to so many things that impact our community and frankly are holding us back, like anti-blackness and colorism and internalized racism. And if you think that these are woke words, look them up and you will realize what exists, what has existed in our community for a very long time. And I say all of this because there are so many people that have fallen to the false prophets of the world, and I need us as a community to come together and wake up. So if you're wanting more of this type of content, follow for more, because we need to have this conversation.
Did you see that Texas Republicans passed their gerrymandered maps, diluting black and brown votes and hoping that Republican Latinos help them win in 2026? What this new redistricting does is put a lot of Latinos that make up 40% of the population in Texas in areas surrounded by Republican voters. Even the new Latino district that Republicans are bragging about does not have the power they're saying it does. So in this new Latino district, it is filled with Latinos who cannot vote or do not vote. So this new Latino district doesn't add anything to the Latino voting power. Also, these gerrymandered maps have merged Democratic districts. This will cause for representatives like Al Green to have a tougher time regaining his seats and pin Democratic representatives against each other in the same district. This puts a lot of seats being held by black and brown Democratic leaders in jeopardy in 2026. And it dilutes the voting power of black and brown Democratic voters by putting them in Republican districts. And on top of all this, Republicans are hoping that even with everything they're doing against the Latino community, that Republican Latinos stick with them in 2026. Republicans are banking on Latinos for Trump to do the work for them and help them consolidate power even more by pushing Democrats out in 2026. They're doing all this to take away the power of black and brown voters. This shows how powerful our vote is. If it wasn't for these sneaky tactics, Texas would have gone blue a long time ago. So specifically for Latinos for Trump, stop being a pawn in these Republicans' games. They already fooled you in 2024 and you see them rampaging through our communities. And now they're banking on you falling for their BS again and going out and voting for them in 2026. So this is the time to redeem yourself. I don't know if you know this, but even if you're a registered Republican, you don't have to vote Republican. You can realize the error of your ways and vote for someone who does not want you destroyed systemically. So even though this is happening in Texas, and who knows what's going to happen in the rest of the country, but it seems like it's still going to come down to people and elections. And I hope in 2026, people go out and vote against fascism.
The Latino community is in the FAFO season. Let's watch and comment down below your thoughts on this topic, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.
I fully recognize that a not insignificant number of Trump voters didn't specifically sign up for this. They thought he was mostly bluster. They talked themselves out of holding him accountable for January 6th. They convinced themselves that his 34 felony convictions were politically motivated, or maybe they just didn't really understand him. All because they were clinging longingly to memories of 2016 to 2020, before all the infections and death and violence, and before inflation exploded our cost of living. If we just allow this to be true, whether we forgive it or not doesn't matter. I just need these people to understand how much wildly unnecessary trauma has been inflicted on the country as a result. Because nothing, and I mean not a single goddamn thing he has done, has anything to do with anything that went well from 2016 to 2020. Millions of small business owners are now paying import taxes on the goods that they build and sell. Kilmar Abreu Garcia, the father of an American citizen and the husband of an American citizen, was arrested without cause, sent to a terrorist prison, flown back to the United States on judge's orders, reunited with his family, and then detained again. And now that psychopath Kristi Noem is threatening to deport him to Uganda. They don't speak Spanish in Uganda because it's in Africa, all in forcing millions and millions of dollars in charges to taxpayers and inflicting PTSD-level trauma on his wife and child in Maryland, all because Trump and his little trolls are absolutely incapable of admitting when they've fucked up. Instead, they're trying to make us pay for their efforts to save face. On top of that, tens of thousands of federal employees without their careers, over 100 lives lost, including dozens of little kids, and those floods in Texas, all because Republican state officials couldn't figure out how to warn people. Trillions in new debt that our kids are going to have to figure out a way to pay off. Also, Trump could extend tax cuts for rich people that economists have proven over and over again to have been almost entirely ineffective in driving economic activity. And of course, $1 trillion in cuts to food and healthcare for those in the working class struggling most. So far in the first 8 months of this disaster of a presidency, thanks entirely to Republican voters, we have had to watch Trump operationalize his nationalist authoritarian hate, all while doing exactly fucking nothing for the working class.
Hold on, let me get this straight, or just remind me. When then Vice President Biden was running for presidency the first time, he sat on Charlemagne the God Breakfast Club and said that if you don't vote for me, then you ain't black. And niggas said, yes, we're gonna vote for the white man who said we ain't black if we don't vote for him, right? All Donald Trump said back then was that, I mean, what do you have to lose if you vote for me? I mean, he said that Democrats have been making promises their entire existence and have failed to come through on any of them, which he was right about, by the way. Fast forward to Joe Biden running for his second term before they booted his ass out. He went and bought fried chicken, niggas! Fried chicken! And sat with a black family and ate. And niggas came back and said, oh, he's just a old man who means well, and he didn't mean nothing at all by showing up with fried chicken to a house full of niggas. Oh, that's not a stereotype at all. Niggas wanted to vote for him still, like I said, until he got kicked out. Then Kamala Hamas got injected into this race, and she said, oh, I know what struggle is. I worked at McDonald's. Though there is zero history of her ass ever putting foot in McDonald's, Donald Trump said, okay, tell you what, I'm going to show up to McDonald's and work a whole shift, which he did. He showed up to McDonald's, served people out the window, gave them their Big Mac or whatever and fries and waved at them, because he wanted to make sure he worked a shift, unlike Hamala Hamas. What do you think happened after that? Diabetic, overweight, fat fuckers said they was gonna cancel McDonald's because Donald Trump showed up there. The people that lived and breathe high cholesterol because their diet is 90% McDonald's wanted to cancel McDonald's. How did that go, by the way? A lot of them was black. But tell you what, we haven't had the Latinas in any of this situation yet. Until now. Because Gavin Newsom, the destroyer of California, pulled up to a shop, a Mexican shop, and made a fucking tortilla. The guy made a fucking tortilla. And all of a sudden, he is the hero, the savior that Latinas and Latinos always need. He is the big bro that is long lost Mexican cousin that no one knew about. That's who he is right now. All because he made a fucking tortilla. I didn't say a taco, okay? I did not say he made a taco. I said the guy made a fucking tortilla. And all of a sudden, he's the best thing that ever happened to the fucking Latina community. Bye. I'm done. I don't have nothing else to say. I'm done, bruh.